let's pretend inside your scene that maybe you want some dust, some floating particles, some little sparklies, or some fog. That's what we're going to be doing next. We're going to be playing around with what's called the Niagara system. All right, so let's go ahead and create our dust first, and let's create a dust material. So let's right-click material. Let's call this M dust, M for material. Let's open this up. And we're going to want to make this a additive blend mode. And for shading, we're going to do an unlit. We'll want two-sided on. And then let's do a particle color node. And let's drag this into the emissive color. And then let's change this to a plane. All right. Now what we need is to mask out a sphere. So let's grab a sphere mask. And let's do a texture coordinate. And then let's do our constant 1. Make this a 0.5. We'll drag our texture coordinate into here, and then our constant is going to go into these three guys. Then let's create a multiply. And we'll drag the alpha of our particle color, and then our sphere mask, and then all that goes into opacity. And then there is our dust material. Okay. Now, there's actually, I'll show you once we get into it, you have two choices. You can use the default Unreal Engine material, or you can use this one. They are very close to being the same, but they're different, just a little bit different, and you can see that. So you have a choice, okay? So let's go ahead and save this. Okay, we can just go ahead and close this now. And first off, you want to make sure that you have exponential height fog installed, okay? And then with that selected, come down here and do a search for volumetric. You're going to want to make sure you have volumetric fog checked on. And then I have a scattering distribution of 0.35, and then a view distance of 8,000. And then I'm also tilted my sun, so I'm getting kind of a late afternoon type sun, or early morning, whatever you want to call it. So it's just going to allow us to see what we're doing a little bit easier. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a Niagara system. So we're going to right click, Niagara system, go ahead and click next. And then we are going to do a hanging particle, click this plus sign, and then finish. And let's call this NS for Niagara system. This is going to be our dust and our fog. So let's open that up. Okay, first things first, select it. Let's change this to GPU simulation. Let's do local space. Let's do fixed bounds, and let's do -1000s and then 1000s. Okay, and then over here in your left-hand window, you can kind of see how things will be changing as we work our way through this. So for a spawn rate, let's do 800. Let's give a spawn probability of a 0.7. It's going to give us a 70% probability chance of spawning our sphere. Let's come down here to initialize particle. So lifetime, minimum and maximum, that should work out. For our color, I mean, what I mean is I'll just leave those at 5 and 8. These are default values so far. Let's come down here to color and give this kind of a dingy brown-ish beige color. And what we'll want to do is this value mode we'll be playing with, okay? So right now, let's keep it at 1, which is going to make it super bright. That's going to allow us to really kind of see what we're doing and see any changes as we're making them. Once we're all done, then you'll probably want to come back and change this alpha to, I don't know, like a 0.2, 0.3, something like that. And let's change our sprite size to 0.2 and a 0.3. Actually, you know what? Let's make it a 0.5. Let's get some big boys in there. Okay, and then again, all of these changes, all of these values make a huge difference in what's happening. So don't be afraid to come back and change on your own. Okay, and then under shape location, we have 2 of these. Let's just grab one and delete it. Let's come back here and change this to 1,000. And then we'll change that to 1,000. Actually, no, let's make it about 300. Ooh, not 1,300, about 300. We'll stay at non-uniform scale. All right, and then let's come to particle update. These default values will work for us. Let's go ahead and let's see, we don't need drag, sprite size, or sprite color. So let's delete those. Let's add a vortex force. And let's make this vortex. Now this is really gonna, if you look over here in your left hand, just adding the vortex force has really made a huge change. So these values will definitely need to be adjusted by you in the long run. So I'm going to do a 1 and a -1. And this -1 just kind of allows for, it's pushing away and allows for little kind of flyaway guys to just spaz out and go wherever. And then let's come down here to our sprite renderer. Now here is where that material is going to come in. So here's the default material for Unreal. And you might just want to play with that and see how that works. So let's go ahead and do that. So far I think we're pretty close to being where we want to be. So let's just go ahead and drag this guy straight into our scene. Okay, and I have real time turned off, so let's turn that on and then we can see what's happening here. There we go. Okay, now they're very slight, but that's what's happening. Okay, so again, the lighting is going to play a huge part. Your vortex And then also the material. Now this is the default Unreal Engine material. Let's go ahead and change it. So just select our material, come over here, and then just click this Use Selected Asset from Content Browser. Compile. All right. Now let's come in here. And you can see they're a lot more subtle. So it depends on what you want. And don't forget that you can change the size of these things. We have them right now pretty small. At 0.2 and 0.5. So it depends on what kind of look you're trying to achieve. These can get pretty busy. That's why I usually select a pretty small number here. And then you can play with the spawn rate. What you'll need to do as well is do your location, because as you can tell right now, if we select this, you can kind of see how they're distributed. Okay, so as you change that value, you're going to have to change your spawn rate value. So let me just show you real quick. So let's change this to about a 3000. And let's kind of bring this down to where it's more low to the ground. So let's do about a 50. I'm going to compile, and let's see what that gets us. Okay. So I can barely see him. And again, the lighting will play a huge role for this. So I would probably go ahead and up the spawn rate at this point. Just double it. Now, don't be afraid to make big decisions like that, because really, to see stuff, you're going to have to be bold. Maybe a little bit higher, and let's go ahead and start to bring down our alpha. Let's do a 150. And let's see here. And again, it's all dependent on you. What do you want? What are you looking for? I'm more, I like subtly. I like being subtle. I don't want stuff being hit over the viewer's head. So you need to be careful. But again, as you increase your size that it's spawning in, you're going to have to change your spawn rate as well. Like the spawn rate's probably a touch too high. More than a touch. So let's do, I don't know, 1200. So anyways, that's how you get some dust happening. It's a neat system, very easy to play with. The hanging particle system is super easy to mess around with. So there's your dust. Okay, so let's go ahead and play around with creating something for our fog. So in the same Niagara system, let's just right click and add an emitter. We'll do another hanging particle. And again, same changes at the beginning here. And again, you'll be able to see the changes over here in the left-hand window. Let's do a right, we don't need both of these. Let's go ahead and delete one. Let's do a sphere. 10, 10, 1. And then go to our initialized particle. These defaults 5 and 8s, that'll work just fine. For our sprite size, let's go ahead and just plug in a 20 and a 30. Okay, you can see that's not very foggish. So let's just blast this. Like I said, don't be shy. Let's go to 200 and 300. There we go. Now we're starting to get something. Right, now the thing that's kind of messing with us at this point is the material. Now, instead of creating a material, we're going to use something that already exists. So I'm going to type in black body, and this is a default Unreal Engine material. I'm going to go ahead and just drag a copy and do our test. Let's go ahead and open this up. And let's go ahead and, you know what, let's just plug that crazy thing in. So, sorry, messing around here. Let's go ahead and rename this too, since it is a copy. Now you have two of these crazy things floating around. So let's just do okay. And then with it selected, let's come over here to our sprite renderer and let's go ahead and use this use selected asset from content browser. Okay. And then now what we're seeing is all these little weird, funny tiles. Okay. And that's this right here. And this is a 8 by 8 tile going on. So if we come back in here, let's see, let me find this. Yeah, if we come down here to sprite renderer, you can see our sub image size. and that's at 8 by 8. So if I change this to an 8 by 8, you can now see, instead of that tiling, now we're seeing one at a time. Now it's a very dirty looking fog. So let's go ahead and again change some stuff in here in the material. You can see that that black body thing is right here. So let's actually select that. Let's delete those. Let's plug that into there, do an apply. Okay, there we go. We're getting closer. We're seeing some really weird clipping. So we can take care of that right here. Right click, do a depth fade. And let's see what that looks like now. I have to apply it. So it doesn't mean anything until you apply it. Okay, there we go. I don't think no, we never did. Let's look at our spawn right here. And spawn probability of 1. Okay. We're getting a weird flashing going on. You can see that. That's because we need to change this to an additive. Apply. Boom. Okay, now we're starting to get something. Let's come back in here. Let's go to particle update. And let's add a sub UV animation. Let's make a copy. Let's do a multiply float. Paste. And if we type in a value here, that should be lowering our animation. So it's still animating, but it's not going as crazy as it was. So you can see if I bring this back to 1, now you can see it really just going crazy, okay? And again, it's going to be the same thing where when we change the size of this, it's going to, we're going to need to mess around with the spawn rate. So I am guessing here. Let's go ahead and just see what that gets us. All right, it's a little big, huh? So let's do, I don't know, I forget where we were. Should probably try to Remember where I'm starting from here first. Okay. Yeah, right, there we go. All right, so let's just enter the game and let's see what we got. Now, this whole system can be changed to whatever look you're looking for. I would, I mean, experimentation is key. All right. So, but more than anything, the thing that I've realized more than anything is, yeah, you can experiment and you totally can and you should. But have something in your mind of what you want, what you're looking for, a goal. So you can see changes and you know what you're trying to get. Okay. So if you look at it from the top, it's very sporadic. But more than likely you're going to be in a game mode where you're following behind the player. So I'm thinking we'll need to up the spawn rate. Let's try 700 and see what that gets us. That's kind of cool. You can also play with how high up. So you can get kind of a Hound of the Baskervilles. Showing my age there. Sorry about that. And then also, don't forget, you can mess around with the material, and they have it all kind of laid out for you, like you should. You should always be laying stuff out like this, telling everybody what is what with these all of these nodes. So if we change these values, don't forget to apply. So your materials here is going to need to compile. Might take a second. Probably a good time to replenish your fluids. All right. And again, play around with the spawn rate. So a lot of neat looks that you can get. All right. Okay. So, anyways, I hope that helps you guys out. That's how to play around with the Niagara system.